association with Zenith Bank.
I'm Ben Wiedemann in Rome, and this is CNN.
I'm Hala Gorani in London. We continue our breaking news on two fronts on CNN International, and welcome to our viewers in the United States. First, the crash of a passenger jet over eastern Ukraine and the Israeli ground offensive in Gaza now underway. We start with that apparent downing of a commercial airliner. It is 9 a.m. in Ukraine now, where government officials are blaming pro-Russia separatists for shooting down a Malaysia Airlines jet with almost 300 people on board, 298 to be precise. Video from the crash site in eastern Ukraine shows parts of flight MH17 still smoldering. You see it there on your screens. As firefighters and rescue workers try to put out the flames, witnesses say the jet exploded in midair and fell to the ground in bits and pieces. A senior American official says radar detected a surface-to-air missile system turn on and track an aircraft right before the plane went down, leading them to believe that this plane was shot out of the sky. The U.S. is analyzing the trajectory of the missile to try to determine where exactly it came from. The Boeing 777 was flying from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. You see its trajectory there and where it was last seen on radar, last picked up. About 4 hours into the flight, the plane disappeared off of the radar system right there over eastern Ukraine. Of course, this is a human tragedy at its heart. Families waiting for the plane in Kuala Lumpur gathered at the airport to get updates on the flight. The Malaysian Prime Minister, Nabil Razak, says the plane never made a distress call. Freelance journalist Noah Snyder was at the crash site on Thursday, talking to witnesses and getting firsthand accounts of what happened. He shared what he saw and heard with my colleague Don Lemon, and a warning: some of what he describes is quite disturbing.
People are trying to identify bodies, mark the spots where bodies have fallen. There's 3 fire trucks and about 4 sort of search and rescue team vehicles lined up along the road. But the way it's being done is not systematic by any means. They're basically just tying little white cotton ribbons to sticks and putting them in the ground where there's a body. And there's sort of rebels wandering the fields. They're as stunned as anyone else. And I think the overwhelming mood here is that this is even darker perhaps in daylight. You can see everything.
In the initial moments when you were witnessing what happened, take us back to that.
Sure. We heard the news while we were in Donetsk, which is about an hour and a half drive from here. There were a few sort of news flashes on the wires that a plane had been brought down, a civilian plane potentially. So we drove out here and found a sort of strange scene of smoke rising over this hillside, rebels kind of waving us through checkpoints, which they normally don't do. And we found, I think, what I said last night still stands. I mean, it's a total disaster and a total tragedy. And looking at it now in daylight, I mean, you wander through these fields and you pretty much have to watch every step, because if you don't, you could step on a person's organ. I mean, it's like it was raining body parts.
Noah Snyder is a freelance journalist. He made it to the scene, and that is what he described to our Don Lemon just a few hours ago. So you can imagine the horror witnesses experienced as they heard and watched the huge piece of machinery fall right from the sky. Here are some of the witness accounts.